In the grand scheme of things, there is no loss. There is only action or inaction. Whether you act or not, the downside is the same. You believe there is something to lose. That belief is the prison. Look carefully. If you do not ask the question, you remain ignorant. If you do ask the question, perhaps you are rejected. Tell me, where is the loss? In one path, you lose reality. In the other, you lose fantasy. Which loss frightens you? You imagine two futures. Future one, you take action. You ask her out. You start the company. You quit the job. You publish the article. Your mind says, what if I fail? Now look at the other future. You do nothing. 5 years pass. The company never exists. The girl never knows. The book is never written. The life you wanted never begins. Tell me, how is this not failure? The mind only counts the pain that comes from action. It never counts the pain of inaction. That pain is invisible because it arrives slowly, one day at a time, one excuse at a time, 1 year at a time. You think rejection is expensive? No, regret is expensive. Rejection lasts minutes, regret lasts decades. The downside is the same. If you ask, she may say no. If you never ask, the answer was already no. Nothing changed. If you launch, the business may fail. If you never launch, the business has already failed. Nothing changed. If you write, people may ignore it. If you never write, the world ignored it anyway. Nothing changed. You fear losing money. But if fear keeps you trapped for 10 years, how much money did fear cost? Far more than failure ever could. The grand scheme of things is indifferent to your hesitation. The universe does not reward caution. It does not punish courage. It simply reflects what was done or what was left undone. You keep asking, what if it doesn't work? A better question is, what exactly is working now? If your current path already produces dissatisfaction, what magnificent safety are you protecting? The irony is this: you think action creates risk. Often, inaction is the greatest risk. It merely disguises itself as safety. One day you will die. On that day, the embarrassment you feared, the criticism you feared, the rejection you feared will have vanished. Only one thing remains: the life that was lived, or the life that wasn't. That is why, in the grand scheme of things, there is no loss. There is only action or inaction. Everything else is imagination. There is a peculiar illusion. People believe action is risky. No, inaction merely hides its risks because they arrive slowly. Action delivers its verdict today. Inaction delivers its verdict 20 years later. The later is far more brutal. The universe keeps no scoreboard. It does not record your failures. It records nothing. Only your mind creates an account book. Profit, loss, success, failure. Existence recognizes none of these. When death arrives, will it ask how many startups failed? Will it ask how many money did you lose? Will it ask how many people rejected you? No, it comes equally for the billionaire and the beggar. So, what exactly were you protecting? The tragedy is not failing. The tragedy is living as though avoiding failure were living. A truth seeker does not ask, what if I lose? He asks, what does truth require of me now? If truth says walk, he walks. If truth says speak, he speaks. If truth says leave, he leaves. Not because success is guaranteed, because truth has already made the decision. The greatest illusion is believing that doing nothing is the safe option. It isn't. Both action and inaction consume your life. One spends it consciously, the other spends it quietly. Most people spend their lives trying not to lose. They never realize that every sunrise withdraws one more day from their account. The clock never pauses while you deliberate. So the question was never, what if I fail? The question was always, since my life will be spent either way, what is worthy of spending it on? That is where fear ends. That is where life begins. There are no losers, only winners or quitters. You believe there are three kinds of people: winners, losers, and those somewhere in the middle. There are only two: the one who continues and the one who stops. A child learning to walk falls hundreds of times. Do you call him a loser? No, because he never concludes that falling means he cannot walk. He simply stands again. The adult is different. He falls once and invents an identity. I'm not made for business. I am bad at relationships. I'm not intelligent. The fall did not defeat him. The story did. You admire successful people because you see the mountain. You do not see the thousands of slips, the rejected proposals, the failed interviews, the products nobody bought, the speeches that were terrible, the nights filled with doubt. You see the fruit. You never see the seasons. Winners fail more than losers. Of course they do, because winners attempt more. Failure is simply the receipt for having entered the arena. If two men fail equally, one tried 100 things, the other tried two. Whom do you expect to discover something extraordinary? The man who never asks for a sale never hears no. The man who asks 100 prospects may hear 95 no's. Who appears more successful? The first. Who actually has a chance of mastery? The second. You fear failure because you imagine it is a verdict. It is not. It is information. It says, not this way, nothing more. Only the ego translates it into, you are not enough. The universe has no category called failure. Rain falls, seeds grow, some trees die, others live for centuries. Existence makes no announcement. It simply unfolds. Only humans create ceremonies around outcomes. You say, I lost. Lost what? Money, it returns. Status, it was borrowed. Relationships, they belong to time. Youth, it was never yours. Reputation, it exists only in other people's minds. What exactly have you lost? A quitter is not someone who changes direction. A quitter is someone who abandons truth because discomfort arrived. He stops not because the path is false. He stops because his image of himself cannot tolerate bruises. There is a subtle distinction. Persistence is not clinging to a particular plan. Persistence is refusing to abandon the deeper pursuit. A founder may close one company and build another. That is not quitting. A writer may throw away 10 manuscripts. That is not quitting. A seeker may discard 10 philosophies. That is not quitting. They have abandoned methods, not the search. Most people think courage is the absence of fear. No, courage is the disappearance of accounting. The accountant asks, how many times have I failed? The seeker asks, what remains to be understood? One counts, the other learns. The opposite of winning is not failing. The opposite of winning is stopping. Failure is often part of the path. Quitting is stepping off the path entirely. The mind is obsessed with the scoreboards. How many victories? How many defeats? How many people approved? Existence asks none of these questions. It only presents moments in which you either move toward what is true or you turn away from it. The world may call you a winner because you reached the summit. Truth may call you a winner because you refuse to stop climbing. You think inaction preserves you. It doesn't. Time is not frozen while you hesitate. Your 20s disappear. Your curiosity fades. Your appetite for risk shrinks. Your habits harden. You are paying a price every day. The ball simply arrives quietly. There is a strange arithmetic that the mind performs. If I do nothing, I lose nothing. This is false mathematics. Doing nothing is also a decision. It has consequences. Silence is a choice. Delay is a choice. Avoidance is a choice. Every choice shapes a life. Look at nature. A seed can split open or it can remain intact. If it splits, it risks everything. It ceases to be a seed forever. If it refuses, it also ceases. Not because it grew, because it never did. The shell eventually decays either way. This is why there is no safe path. There is only the illusion of one. You fear embarrassment. If you speak, people may laugh. If you never speak, your voice dies unheard. Which is the greater loss? You fear rejection. If you confess your love, she may say no. If you never confess, the answer is also no. One no is spoken, the other is lived. You fear building a company. It may fail. If you never build, that company also never exists. Both roads contain endings. Only one contains possibility. The mind says, what if I lose? Truth asks, what exactly are you protecting? Your image, your comfort, your certainty? None of these survive time. One day, whether you acted boldly or cautiously, you will leave this world. Death does not give discounts to the careful. It does not say you avoided all risk, so you may stay. The ending is shared, only the journey differs. That is why I say, whether you act or not, the downside is the same. The ultimate downside, your life ending, is guaranteed. So the question is not whether you can avoid loss, you cannot. The question is, how do you wish to spend the time before the inevitable arrives? The mind believes the safest life is the one with the fewest scars. Truth sees something else. The greatest scar is often invisible, a life spent protecting itself instead of expressing itself. Listen, I am not asking you to romanticize failure. Do not worship failure. Failure has no wisdom of its own. Neither worship success. Success has no wisdom of its own. Both are merely labels invented by an accountant who lives in your mind. The accountant keeps ledgers: 3 wins, 7 losses, 2 embarrassments, 1 rejection. Truth keeps no books. Existence issues no report card. The river does not count how many rocks it struck before reaching the sea. The eagle does not count how many flights it took before mastering the wind. Only man keeps accounts. So the invitation is not to seek failure, nor is it to seek success. It is to seek truth, to try what calls to you, to build, to speak, to ask, to live, to begin again. Not because failure is noble, not because success is guaranteed, but because keeping accounts is the very thing that impressions you. The moment the accountant disappears, there is no courage, there is no fear, there is only action, and a life that is finally being lived. So do not romanticize failure. Failure is not a badge of honor. It is not something to chase, just as success is not something to worship. Both are events, both come, both go. Neither defines a man. The only thing that defines a man is whether he remained true to what he knew had to be done. The mind, however, is an accountant. It sits quietly with its ledger: 1 rejection, 3 failed business, 5 years wasted, 10 opportunities missed, a profitable investment, a successful relationship, a promotion. It keeps an endless balance sheet. And then it convinces you that this balance sheet is your life. It is not. Truth has never opened a ledger. Existence has never asked for your score. The mountains do not know who succeeded. The ocean does not remember who failed. The sky has never once congratulated a winner or mourned a loser. Only the human mind is obsessed with accounting. That is why you hesitate. Not because action is dangerous, but because the accountant is terrified of recording another loss. So you wait, you prepare, you optimize, you analyze, you seek certainty, you postpone, not realizing that postponement is also an entry in the ledger. Every year spent waiting has its own cost. Every opportunity avoided has its own price. Every unlived desire quietly demands payment. You imagine that by protecting yourself from failure, you have protected your life. You have merely protected your image. Life was never asking you to preserve an image. It was asking you to participate. So try, build the company, write the book, make the call, ask the question, learn the craft, walk away from what is false, begin again if necessary. Not because failure is beautiful, not because success is guaranteed, but because action is the language of a living human being. And understand something subtle. A truth seeker does not collect experiences. He does not collect victories. He does not even collect lessons. He simply responds to what truth asks of him in this moment. Tomorrow, truth may ask him to change direction. He changes. It may ask him to abandon years of work. He abandons them. It may ask him to start over. He starts over. Without resentment, without pride, without keeping score. The accountant cannot understand such a man because the accountant believes every step must justify itself. Truth requires no justification. One day your life will end, not because you failed, not because you succeeded, simply because all lives end. When that day comes, the ledger will burn with everything else. The profits will disappear, the losses will disappear, the applause will disappear, the criticism will disappear. Only one question will remain. Did you spend your life keeping accounts, or did you spend your life living? The moment the accountant disappears, something extraordinary happens. There is no longer a need to win. There is no longer a fear of losing. There is no burden of proving. There is no identity to defend. There is only a man meeting life directly, without calculation, without hesitation, without psychological baggage. There is only action. And in that action, there is freedom.